Welcome to the Privacy Report, the place where we unpack the hidden tech that shapes your digital world and hopefully help you take back some control.
And today we're diving into something that's, well, everywhere but often unseen: metadata.
Right? It's that data about your data. Think of it like the label on a package attached to every photo, message, document,
Yeah,
everything you do online.
exactly. And the hook here, the really surprising part, is how sensitive this metadata can be. It paints a picture of your habits, your routine, who you know, even if the actual content, like the photo itself or the email text, is locked down tight.
Yeah, it feels sneaky almost.
Yeah.
Because you think you're being careful with the main information, but this other layer is telling its own story. It kind of goes against what you'd intuitively expect about privacy.
It really does. It's like a silent observer recording the context of everything you do digitally.
Yeah.
We often focus so much on protecting the letter, we forget about the envelope and the postmarks.
That's a great way to put it, the envelope. And before we get deeper into the technical side, just a quick note for everyone listening.
Yeah.
You can get more privacy tips and insights by subscribing to our email newsletter over at theprivacyreport.net.
Definitely worth checking out.
Okay, so let's tackle this head on. We tend to think, okay, I've encrypted my message or I've password protected my file, and that's security. But you're saying this structural data, the metadata, might actually be the bigger weak spot. Why is it so revealing?
Well, it's all about context and connections. People put a lot of effort into hiding what they're saying or doing.
Right.
But the metadata reveals when they did it, where they were, potentially who they were interacting with, and that's where the real surveillance power lies. Think about it. If you can see the timing, the location, the recipient of thousands of messages, even encrypted ones, you don't need to read a single word to map out someone's entire network, their habits.
You can infer so much just from the patterns.
Precisely. That's the power.
Okay, let's make this more concrete. What specific kinds of metadata should people be most aware of? Where does it actually leak information?
Let's start with a classic example. Photo EXIF data. That's exchangeable image file format.
Yes. EXIF.
When you snap a picture with your smartphone, unless you've specifically turned it off, that file usually contains more than just the image. It logs the camera model, the settings, the time,
And a big one.
and often the exact GPS coordinates of where you were standing when you took it.
Wow. So I share a photo online of, say, my newly painted living room, thinking I'm just showing off the paint color.
And you might have just broadcast your home address to anyone who knows how to look at the file's properties.
That's unsettling.
Yeah.
What about documents, like Word docs or spreadsheets?
Oh, absolutely. Document properties are another key area. Think about a Word or Excel file. The metadata there can show the author's name, maybe their company, the date it was created, how long it was edited for, sometimes even a revision history. It can even show which version of the software was used. It tracks the document's life cycle.
Wait, revision history.
Right.
So if I write something sensitive, then delete it before sending the file. Could traces of that still be lurking in the metadata?
Not usually the exact deleted text itself, but the metadata might show that significant revisions happened, who made them, and when. The file isn't just a flat snapshot of the final version. It can retain those internal markers.
Okay.
That's why many organizations have policies about scrubbing metadata before releasing documents publicly.
Right. Makes sense. And what about trying to be anonymous online, like with email? Even secure email services seem to have issues with headers.
Yeah, email headers are tricky. They're actually necessary for email to work. They tell servers where to route the message.
It's like directions on the envelope.
Exactly. But they act like a logbook. Each server the email passes through adds a stamp, received from, time, date, IP address. It's called hop-by-hop logging.
So even if the email service tries to hide the original sender,
The path the email took across the internet is often mapped out in those headers. And that path can sometimes point back to the sender's general location, or at least the network they used.
so pulling this together, the file properties, the photo locations, the email routes, it all combines to create this kind of behavioral fingerprint.
That's a perfect term for it. A digital fingerprint, or maybe even a digital shadow that follows your activities, linking documents, places, and communications together. It's a biography you didn't consciously write.
And it's probably way more detailed than most of us realize.
Incredibly detailed and very hard to completely erase.
Now, I think a lot of people hear this and think, okay, that sounds like stuff spy agencies or huge tech companies worry about. But this metadata creation, it's happening constantly, right, in everyday stuff.
It's absolutely ubiquitous. It's built into the fabric of how digital systems work. Your smartphone is a prime example.
Yeah.
It's not just the photos. Every text message, every call you make, it generates metadata. Time, duration, who you contacted, your phone carrier logs, all of that, often for a long time.
And thinking about work, those office tools must be generating tons of this.
Oh, for sure. Standard Office documents are metadata goldmines. Every time you save, print, share, collaborate, you're potentially adding or updating that hidden history.
Even PDFs, I thought they were safer.
Generally safer than, say, a Word doc, especially if you print to PDF. But even PDFs can retain metadata, particularly if they have things like digital signatures or interactive form fields. It depends how they're created.
Okay. What about social media? We spend so much time there. How do platforms handle the metadata in, like, photos we upload?
It's kind of a mixed bag. On the one hand, when you upload a photo publicly, most major platforms do strip out sensitive ASIF data like the GPS coordinates before showing it to other users.
Oh, okay.
But, and this is a big but, they don't just throw that data away. They often replace your metadata with their own internal tags. They keep records linking that photo upload back to your account, the device you used, the exact time, maybe even the location they infer. They use this for their own analytics, ad targeting, tracking your behavior.
So they remove the metadata that could maybe harm me directly from another user, but they keep and use a version of it for their purposes.
You got it. And don't forget cloud backups, services we rely on for security like Dropbox or Google Drive. They keep meticulous logs. Synchronization logs track exactly which file was uploaded or changed when, often from which IP address. It creates this detailed forensic history of your digital life that most people never even think about.
It really is everywhere. But, I mean, some metadata has to be necessary, right? Like for files to work or emails to get delivered.
Yeah.
Where's the line between function and, well, surveillance?
That is the absolute crux of it. Metadata itself isn't inherently bad. You need it to organize files, route data. It's functional.
Right.
The privacy invasion happens when all these little seemingly harmless pieces of data get collected, aggregated, and analyzed together.
It's the big picture they create. The danger is the profiling it allows. It's less about what you said in one email and more about the pattern of when you send emails, where you are when you send them, who you talk to most often.
Exactly. That aggregated picture lets companies or law enforcement or whoever has access infer incredibly private things.
Like what?
Like analyzing location trails from photos and logins alongside timestamps can pretty accurately show when you're home versus when you travel, your work hours, maybe even your sleep schedule, who your closest contacts are, just based on frequency. It builds this map of your life without ever needing to read your messages.
It basically turns timing and location data into a biography. You don't need someone to read your diary if they can just analyze your digital movements.
And this isn't just theoretical. There have been some really stark real-world cases. I remember reading about journalists, for instance, who published a story online. The story itself had zero personal information about them, completely anonymized. But they forgot to scrub the metadata from one single photo included with the article. Yeah. The XIF data in that photo contained location information. That was enough for someone to figure out where they were, and from there, identify them, potentially putting them at risk.
Wow. That just perfectly highlights the gap, doesn't it? The difference between thinking you're secure because the content is safe versus the reality of the container giving you away.
Precisely. You have to be mindful of both.
Okay, so this feels a bit overwhelming. Metadata is everywhere. What can people actually do? We can't just opt out of digital life entirely. It seems like it has to be about managing the risk, being more intentional.
That's exactly the right approach. It's not about becoming a digital hermit. It's about awareness and deliberate minimization. The first step is just shifting your mindset. Assume every digital thing you create or share carries this hidden history.
Right, assume it's there. So what are the practical steps? What should you do, say, before hitting send or upload?
Get into the habit of checking. Manually inspect file properties before you send that document or upload that photo. Right-click on the file, go into properties or details or get info. Look for fields like author, company, last saved by, any comments or tags. On documents, this stuff is often easy to just delete or change right there.
Simple enough for documents. But for photos, checking might show you the GPS data is there, but maybe not let you easily remove it.
Exactly. And that's where dedicated tools are useful. If you're posting photos publicly online, consider using a metadata removal tool. There are apps and software like ExifTool or MAT2 is a good command line one.
Okay.
These are designed specifically to strip out that potentially revealing stuff, location, device info, timestamps before you share the image. For anyone publishing photos regularly, it should probably be standard practice.
Makes sense. What about stopping it at the source, like on our phones?
Definitely. First thing, go into your phone's camera settings right now and disable geotagging or location tagging for photos.
Good tip.
That stops the GPS coordinates from being embedded in the first place. Solves a big part of the problem right there. And back to documents for a second. When you share things like Word files or spreadsheets, always try to convert them to PDF first.
Now, remind us why that's better than just sending the original .docs or .xlsx file.
Because the original file, the native format, is dynamic. It's built to track changes, user info, all that history we talked about.
Right.
When you deliberately choose to export or print to PDF, you're creating a much more static snapshot of the final version. It flattens a lot of that dynamic metadata, kind of like taking a picture of the document rather than sending the editable blueprint. It breaks many of those links to the revision history and user data.
Okay, that distinction is really clear.
Yeah.
Print to PDF, don't just save A's. Got it. Beyond handling files, what about the platforms we use?
Yeah, choosing your platform matters. Where you can, opt for services designed with privacy in mind. Things like Signal for messaging or Proton Mail for email. They are built specifically to minimize the metadata they collect and transmit.
They make it harder to do that network analysis you mentioned.
Exactly. They're designed for minimal disclosure by default.
And the basics, like just using our web browser day to day.
Regular cleanup is important there too. Periodically clear your browser data cookies, cached files, site data, and especially any saved autofill information.
Autofill. How's that metadata?
Well, it's structural data about you that the browser stores your name, address, sometimes even credit card info snippets. While not file metadata in the traditional sense, it's data about you that websites can access and use for tracking and profiling across different sites and sessions. So keep it clean. Maybe make it a habit to review your app permissions and browser settings every few months.
That's all really solid practical advice.
Yeah.
It sounds like the long game here isn't paranoia, but just being consistently proactive, making sure the tech serves you, instead of, silently broadcasting your life story.
That's it exactly. Awareness is your best defense, really, because these standards and technologies change all the time. What's considered safe today might have a loophole discovered tomorrow. Stay informed.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Think about the last file you shared. Could be anything, a resume you emailed, a photo you texted to a friend, a document you uploaded to the cloud. What invisible information, what metadata might you have sent along with it without even realizing?
Just asking yourself that question regularly can fundamentally change how you interact with technology.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning into the Privacy Report. If this conversation was helpful, please do like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss our future explorations.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's crucial we all get a better handle on controlling our own digital narratives.
And one final note, this episode was made with the assistance of AI.